Welcome to the Celtic Craft Studio. I'm Terry, and today we're going to make some more Edith ephemera. I didn't realize how much Edith stuff I have, especially scraps. When I use them to make tags or envelopes or pockets, I end up with all kinds of scraps. And over the years, I've been doing this many years, I just end up with I have a shoebox full of nothing but Edith scraps. And so I go through that from time to time and I kind of cut out little pieces that I like and then I do things with them. And so we're going to do 3 kind of little projects. That way you'll have some extra things to stick into your next Edith journal or just any journal, any nature journal. This would be perfect for. So let's get started. We're going to do this one first because they need to dry, and hopefully by the end of it, it'll be dry enough for me to show you. But we're going to start with these, and basically they are just little pieces of scrap. Here, let me show you. I've got some over here. I've cut up sheets to make other things, and then you're kind of left with these little scraps. And there's, things you can do with these scraps. Some of them are still very beautiful. They've got flowers or birds. There's several of them that have little birds. Here's one with a butterfly. So there are things that we can do with these. These, I decided I would use my Tim Holtz paper on. This is, as I mentioned last week, is the collage paper, and this is called Palette. And I love this. I cut it up into the different colors, and then I find pictures that go with the colors. So let me put this away so it's not in our way. And move the ones that are complete. All right, let me put those out of the way. I have covered my area with a piece of wax paper so that I am not getting glue on. And I'm going to get my little tongs out too because they may be needed in this process. So once again, I have taken just a basic picture, and then I found one of the color strips that I thought went with it and matched it up. Now you have to kind of decide where you're putting it, what side you want it on. For instance, I don't want to cover that flower. So this, to me, is obviously going to go on this side. Now, something else might be obvious to you, but that's what I'm doing. Now, I am also going to use, from the Ranger line, the matte medium glue. It's also known as collage medium matte. And I've got one here I could use, but I like the consistency of this. To me, this does a little better. I'm not sure if there's a huge difference or not, but I always get this one. You get a lot of it. It lasts a long time, and I just like the consistency for collaging. The other works well on other things, but I like to collage with this one. So let me open it up. It's fairly new. I did have to stir it up a little because it has been a while, and it did kind of separate. And then I use silicone brushes. I like that better than a brush because if you forget about the brush, it gets quite hard. And it's quite hard to get the goo out of it. Okay, so let me start. You want to lay down a little layer of the medium just to put this on. Okay, so then let's put our tissue paper, kind of line it up where you want it. Doesn't have to be perfect. You can trim the edge if you need to. Then you kind of take your brush brush it down. And then I cover the whole thing because to me, it causes kind of, even though it says it's matte, it causes gloss. And if it's not on the whole thing, to me it looks funny. All right, and you're going to do your best to get that flat and get the bubbles out of it, which may or may not be easy. Okay, once again, I want to get a little more on here because I want this whole thing covered. And I'm trying not to get fingerprints. That is why I got the tweezers. Okay, so let me, because you can also see your fingerprints if you're not careful. So let me swap. I will swap these two here. Put that up there. Decide which side I want this on. I think this is purple. So I obviously want my purple flower showing. Although the cool thing about this, once you glue it down, you can see the plant or whatever it is, the flower, through it. So we'll be able to see it. It just won't be as apparent as the purple one. So let's put some here. Don't have big globs, that'll help not to create bubbles. If you have big globs of glue, that's going to create a bubble, and you don't want the bubbles. You want it as flat as possible. So go over, make sure you get this part done first before you cover the whole thing, because this is where you need to concentrate. But then I go over it so it all has that. I'll show you here. Get one of the ones that's completed. At least I hope you can see it on camera. It kind of has, well, I guess it is kind of matte when it dries. But see, it's covered clear across, so there isn't any, oh, that's where that starts and that ends, because it's covered clear across. All right, let me move this one out of the way. I'll put that up here. You do, and you want to let it dry thoroughly because you don't want your fingerprints. Once again, we're bringing out this, the color of this flower, so I need this to go over here. All right. So let's put a little more down. I love these. You can find these silicone brushes on Amazon. I love them because they are so easy to clean and use for things like this. If you do a lot of collaging. I don't do a lot, but I do enough that I feel like I need the right tools. I used to use my fingers, but that was quite a mess, needless to say. See how you can see the flower through there? That's kind of cool. And then go clear across. Might need a little more. Make sure it's evenly covered. You don't have a lot of streaks. Once again, try not to glob it on. Okay, we're on the last one. Let's move this. Alright, and I can see here I've gone a little too quickly and not been careful, so let me hold that down, get some of these streaks. Don't want the streaks. The others look fine. And it will, as Tim likes to tell you, it will kind of take shape once it dries. I don't know what formula is in it, but it will kind of flatten out and become as one, I guess is the best way to say it. So it is cool stuff. I mean, I know people that use this for everything, and I haven't figured out using it for everything yet. So, but this kind of stuff I will use it for. And I do have quite a few of the Tim Holtz papers. You know, that one got a little crease in it I didn't want, but hopefully we can kind of get it out. A little more, just to get that clear across there. Smooth it out, and then I want to get it out of this glob over here because I don't want it to be glued to, and here I'm going to go this way. You can go either way, just make sure you go the same direction every time. Get some of the glue off. Okay. All right, so let me put the lid on. Let me find my wipes. Wipe my silicone brush off. Put it up here. Once again, this is one reason I like it. It's easy to wipe off. You know, it doesn't matter if it's going to get hard. It's silicone. So, definitely a must-have. And it came in, I think I have the little pack here. Let me put my glue up there. Yeah, well, I got 4. 2 pinks, a blue, and a yellow. There you go. Cutty. And I think they're for putting makeup or a mask on. You know, when you put your, I don't do that, but maybe you do that. So there you go. And they're fairly inexpensive. So, all right, where's because I want to move this out of my pile of glue here. So it's not sticking. Because as you can see, it's already sticking. All right, I'm going to move it over here. And excuse me a moment, guys, because I am going to leave you for just a moment so that I can find a place to set this. I see a spot, so let me stand up and kind of lift and move. Without flopping them on the floor. That would be good. All right, so they're in a place where they're drying. Hopefully by the time this is over, they'll be dry enough for me to show you. Okay, so let's move on to something that does not require glue. Once again, we're keeping these easy. They're just easy little things you can create so that you can create a lot of them, or as some people say, mass make them. So we're going to mass make several of these, and so I keep them in envelopes so that when I'm ready to use them, they're all together. And these are just simply a stamp and a postal. I use 2 different postal stamps and then a stamp. That makes sense. All right, and I have plenty of stamps. I got to find my stamp books here, which I just covered, of course, with the things that are drying. All right, I have a stamp book to use up, so let me use that there. I kind of went through, it's odd colors, but colors I might be able to use. So I'm going to leave that to my side, and then this has pinks. For some reason, I must use the pink stamps first. So that's what we start with. We take our picture, and I pick a stamp that seems to go with the picture. And this, if I use this long stamp, let me get my tweezers. I think I'm going to do it this way. So let me, and put it wherever you want on your picture, okay? All right, we're going to make several of these, so let's clear some room. Here, I think I want green. Here, I might use a brown. And I know I've got some leftover browns in here. Purples, browns. See, there's some nice browns. Decisions. And I won't make you sit here too. Oh, that one's nice and long. Because we've got the space. We've got this big open space that I think I want to fill. So I'm going to put that one right there. Okay. I won't do this whole pile so that you're sitting here forever, but I'll do a few because these don't take too long. These are easy to mass make. In fact, you know what I'm going to do to make life easier? Because there's only like 3 left on here. Let's cut that off. Let's cut off the ones that I have and leave them over there in a pile. How about that? Does that make more sense or what? We want things to be easier. Okay, here's some greens. I could use the green there. Let's see what I've got for greens. Got these 2. And I've got those. So let's cut those out. We've got a smaller space up at the top. So I think I'm going to use a smaller stamp. In fact, I see that one. To me, my eye says it's this one. So let's take that. Put the green ones over here, and I'm going to fill this corner right there. All right, I'm not going to do all these, so let's go through and see if there's any of them I must have. You know, sometimes it's, oh wow, yeah, I want that one. Some of these are quite small, but small could come in handy. Oh, that would be nice with the pink stamp. He actually goes that way, unless I cover the number with a stamp. I could make him go that way. All right, what else do I have? Do I have some, oh, there's another butterfly that would be nice with a pink stamp. That would be great with a yellow stamp, but I use that one all the time, so I think we'll wait on those. Those are a little small. All right, so let's put those aside. Let's do these. So I've got, to me, this would be perfect. Once again, I've got a big space to fill. So I want to, and this one I left the words on. Once again, that's up to you. You can cut off the words, or to me, I liked the words. So I do want to be careful what I cover. All right, so we're going to use that one. I know I have several yellow stamps. And then I think, like I said, I think I'm going to cover, excuse me guys, I'm putting this on my lap because it's just easier to cut when it's down here. Some things it's harder to do when you're trying to be in shot, if you know what I mean. Do I want that one? I think I do. All right, so let's do that one. And make sure it's the right way up. So you might have to look at it for just a bit to figure out what the right way up is. And I'm going to stick it on the page number so you don't know that that is upside down, because I like it better that way. No, it's your world. You do what you want to do. There was a little bit of Bob Ross there. Did you get that? It's your world. You can fill it full of happy trees if you want to. All right, so I've got a whole page of yellow. And I use yellow a lot because there is a lot of yellow in these. All right, so let's put those aside. I think I'm putting this one here. And then we can show you the next step. All right, so let's get these in order. I'm going to move these aside, put these back in my envelope. So you can see everything, and then let me grab my stamps. The stamps I use all the time. I usually keep to my side here because, and my postal stamps I do use a lot. I have a tendency to use them throughout journals. I have a tendency to use them on ephemera and tags. So they're usually sitting right here. Here's the other one. So I have 4 of those, and I have archival ink. So I use the archival ink, and I'm going to use black because it's waterproof. It dries fairly quickly, and it will stay. If it gets, you know, if you have to glue something or you have to do something where there's moisture involved, then that's good, okay? And I try to mix up the different postal things just to make life interesting. And because there's a lot of space to fill here, I think I am going to do that one. Make sure it's the right way up, which is why I use clear blocks so I can see what's going on. I'm going to put that right there. And then I don't use the whole stamp. Let's see which way I want it to go. I want it to go off the, maybe I do. All right, I think I'm going to have it go off the ephemera. So I'm going to do that. All right. Just adds a little something, something. To me, it's completes it. You could leave it just like that, or you can add to it. Let's see. I think I'm going to do the Paris one here. It already has a postmark, but we're going to put another one. And you don't have to be perfect. Postmarks are not perfect. In fact, postmarks tend to be very imperfect. Okay. Swap that over. I'm going to go ahead and do this again because I'm pretty sure there's still some ink on it. And let's do New York. New York, New York. And I think I'm going to do New York on this one too. Okay. All right, so we got those 2 to do, and I've got lines to put on this one. See, this is making me quiet. It's making me quiet because, one, I'm thinking about how I want it. And 2, I'm just thinking in general. So I apologize if I'm not. You don't realize how much you're thinking when you're making ephemera until you're on camera and you think, oh yes, I must probably want to hear me talking. All right, I think I'll put the, and then I see a little receive that I'll use for this. Okay. Well, that's Berlin. I have a Berlin. I know 3 of these came in a Tim Holtz set, and I think the Berlin came in somebody else's stamp set. Like I say, I like the postal thing, so I have Tim Holtz postal kit, and then I collect postal things so that it looks very postal. All right, let me put these out of the way. Show you my example again because I want to. Now I sewed around these, which I will probably do again because to me sewing around them makes them even more interesting. But besides sewing around them, you know, and we've talked about this before when we did tags, you know, when you turn them over, they've got obviously flowers, you know, whatever was on the other side of the page. So they're very hard to journal on unless you cover them. So I usually print out extra paper on cardstock. I have lined paper that I've printed out on cardstock. Or, as we've shown you, you can use the plain pages, Edith pages, antique pages that are plain, so that you have a place to write on them as well. So you need to remember to do that before you sew them. So I'm going to, when these are all done, when my others have dried, because I usually sew those as well, then I will put them on paper. And next week, or the next time we get together, I will show you the final bit that has been sewn. Because like I say, I like to sew them. Just makes them more interesting when you add them into your journals. All right, that's one of my favorites. The one with the egg. Just a simple little egg. And then I left the little poem at the top. I like that. All right. So let me move these out of the way. And we'll get on to our last but not least piece of ephemera. So let me stack these up. That ink should be dry by now, so you don't need to worry about that. Put them over here. They're ready to be backed. Okay. Put all our stamps together. All right. Now we are going to do these. These are like side tucks, top tucks. We do these with lots of things, but you can do them with Edith pages. All right, so there's our example. Basically, you would put them at the top of a journal page. Do I have a journal around here? Oh my, I do not see a journal. Here, I'll use an Edith book. All right, so we'd have our journal here with our journal page, and obviously the journal page is going to be blank. And you would attach that and then tuck whatever you want underneath it, okay? So I use a lot of those top tucks. You can use them on the sides of pages to decorate them. So there's our example, but here's the ones we are going to make. So this is what you need for this one. You will need a piece of Edith, some kind of picture that you like, music or words, something that's a little longer because you're going to attach the two. And then I took butterflies. You can use things other than butterflies. In fact, I think over here, I think I have a couple. I thought these were cute with mushrooms. See, I've got one with a bird. A bird that's a wobbler, and then I saw the word wobbler on that piece, and I thought, oh, well, that would be cool. And then we could put the mushroom at the bottom. See? You could have all kinds of fun doing these. These are the kinds of things that are just fun to sit here and play with. To me, they're very relaxing. This one, I could not decide on the mushroom I wanted to use. There's greens in this, but I didn't know if that was enough. So then I went with some neutral. So there's a brown. I do kind of like that one. Yeah, and he fits well in that little spot. Okay, I've decided. All right, so we're putting that mushroom with that, and this mushroom goes with this. So I will do those later because we're doing butterflies right now. All right, so here we have our butterflies, and what we're going to do, let's start with this one. And once again, to ink or not to ink, that is the question. And I am going to ink so that it's kind of sticks out, you know. So it's a little more apparent and it doesn't all blend in with each other. Now, this music I think is too long, although the picture is long, I think. And I also think we're going to put this on the side with the, like that. Yeah. You know, you got to decide those things. You want it to look the way you want it to look. All right, so I am going to glue that down because I want that right there. Get my blob off the top. And then I'm going to glue this on, and you just need a strip because you want to just glue this down. Get it up to the top. Kind of make it even. So you might have to get some glue off of there. Blobbed a little. Try not to use too much glue. All right. All right. Then I'm going to, I think he needs to be. So he goes with the rest of it. I'm going to put him up there. Now you can put him over to one side. In fact, I may do that. That does kind of look a little more interesting, doesn't it? But obviously, I just want to glue the bottom. And I don't need a lot. Even though I kind of went overboard before. Okay. And I don't know, maybe I'll leave that. I like the treble clef at the bottom. But I felt that these needed one more thing. Now, on this one, we put fabric. There's lace, actually. And then I use this. But I don't always use the fabric. And I don't always rip. You see, I tore these. Sometimes I like the cleaner look. All right, let me empty my little... I don't know what Tim Holtz calls these. Here, what is this? Snippets. I know they're snippets. Number strips. Okay, they're number strips. I like the number strips. The number strips come in very handy. And to me, yeah, I think that goes there. And I am not going to glue that. I am going to staple that. So I'm going to get my tiny attacher. And this is not a Tim thing. I got this. I think I got this one at Walmart or something. Much less expensive. And then you got to figure out which side you're going to get it from because it's only so long. So then I'm going to attach that. And there we have our first one. Okay. Now let's do this. We got some more music, some leaves. See, it could be just simple. I had a little scrap with leaves. Some people would just throw that away, and I thought, oh no, we could use that for something. So you have to kind of know when things can go and when you could probably use them. Uh-oh. You know what? I just tore that piece of antique paper. So, you know what that means? It means I'm going to glue this to the other side. To help hold it down. I was going to go this side, but see, now I'm going to do that side. So let's try not to get too much glue this time. And we won't go all the way down. Okay, so that'll hold that little tear together. And I'd like to, if I'm going to do that, I'm going to trim it down. Because to me, there's too much on this side. And then I'm going to hold that very carefully while I ink it, because I don't want to tear it again. All right, and make that a little straighter. You have the words to line it up with, so that's kind of nice. And we're going to use this guy. And you could use anything. You know, you could use, I was thinking you could use stamps and the postal things again on here somewhere. People, you could use little people. Okay, once again, let's just put a little on the bottom because we aren't. Then obviously when you attach it to your book page, you will use glue. Now, if you wanted to make it more, so you could take it in and out, you could attach a, let's do that. You could use these little clips to attach it to a page. Let's bring that down so you can kind of see it like that. All right, so let's put that there. And we need a number strip. And I want it long enough that it's interesting because we don't want it, I want it to hang over. To me, that is part of what makes it interesting. All right, so we're going to use this one. We're going to attach it, I think, right about there. Then I am going to take my little clip and put it over here. I think just adding the clip sometimes makes it interesting too. You got a lot going on. You got a lot for your eye to look at. All right. You know, I'm going to leave that. I thought about cutting that off, but I think I'm leaving that. And I want to put a little more ink on my inker because I feel like it's losing juice. Okay. And this one, I think I'll do on the opposite side. How about that? Be careful with the antique music, because it does tear easy, because it is antique music. All right. I think this will be the last one I put together on camera. The others I'll do on my own, because I'm approaching 45 minutes and I don't want to get too lengthy here. Don't want to lose your interest. All right. Glue butterfly on. See, once again, you could just sit here and make these for hours and have lots and lots. Oh, here's one that's red. I kind of like that. Yeah, I'm doing that. Make life more interesting. Let's make sure that's straight though before I commit with the staple. And to me, it's far more interesting when, and I saw this someplace on a scrapbook tutorial or something, where if your objects are all touching, it makes them more unified. Whereas if you put the thing down here, the butterfly up here, and you know, they're not as unified as if you put them in a cluster. So just what I heard, just passing it along, guys. All right, we've got a funky thing that isn't gonna, there we go. All right, so I've got those. So, and I'll finish the others when I am done here. Let me go see if my things are dry. Is that dry? Now, close enough how you touch it. So there's one. There's one that looks like he needs to dry a little more. So as you can see, he needs a little trimming. Let me trim. But if you can touch it and it's not sticky, it's ready. Now, I'd let it sit a little bit longer. But, you know, it's definitely dry that I can pick it up and I'm not leaving fingerprints on it. All right, let's trim the edge off. Once again, I'm going to have to put some backing paper on it. Oh, now look. That actually had a blank sheet on it. Very good. That needs to be backed. Okay. And then I will sew around them. These don't need sewing, but this one and then the one with the stamps will be sewn. Grab a couple of those. I love the pink ones. Got some pretty pink ones. All right. So I'll be sewing around those. So I will finish all of these, and then the next time we get together, I'll start out with kind of a picture of all the things that I completed. Just imagine all the ephemera you can make if you get started on just these three things. I think we will talk about envelopes and maybe tags the next time, so you can kind of see how you can do that with Edith pages. And while I'm talking about Edith pages, I did get two new Edith books to put in the shop. So just got to take them out of their signatures or out of the book cover. which we'll see. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not. But there will be new signatures in the shop. So if you need some Edith to play with, come to the shop. If you got your own Edith, get your Edith out and use it, because you could do so much with it, and they are so wonderful in journals, especially botanical journals. Thank you, guys. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for being here, being encouraging. Thank you to my loyal followers. Thank you, Carol, my #1 fan. I appreciate you. I appreciate all of you. So make sure, if you haven't subscribed, you subscribe. Click the bell for notification and comment, ask questions. I do my best to answer the questions. Unless you go back to an old video, I answer the questions. And if I don't answer it because it's in an old video, try putting it on the latest video, and then I can answer it, because they're easier to find. Bring your friends. Let's party. Let's make some crafts here and have fun. That's what it's all about, is enjoying yourself and being creative. So thank you again. Until the next time, let's get crafty.